So hey everyone, it's Trevor Turnbull here with Sports Networker, and I'm very excited to introduce all of you to Oscar Ugaz. How's it going, Oscar?
Thank you very much.
Great. So for those of you that don't know Oscar, you'll probably be familiar with some of the brands that he's worked with over the last few years, and in particular, the Real Madrid soccer in North America football team over in Europe. He was the digital business manager over there. And we're going to talk a bit about that and how he got into that role, and he has some interesting stories to share as well. And then his current role as well with Fantasia over in Spain. And I understand that he's traveling all over the world, so it'll be an exciting conversation here to talk about everything that Oscar does. So let's first of all start, Oscar, go back a few years and talk about how you got into that role with Real Madrid. What was the background behind that?
Well, no, the thing is that I have been working for a long time in Latin America with an interactive agency that I already work with them. And one day, because of personal matters, I have to move myself to Spain, And we decided to open the agency here also in Madrid. We opened the office, and I arrived in 2006. And we started working on that. But some months after I arrived, a headhunter called me out of the blue and said to me, we have this offer in a small football club. Right. Maybe you're going to be interested about that, is to develop the digital strategy of the club. And I said, yes, well, that can maybe be interesting, and this club results to be Real Madrid. But the interesting thing is that when I asked the headhunter, hey, how did you find me? He said, well, we see that you have this profile on the internet, on LinkedIn, and we also see that you have a column and a blog, and you have been writing about this digital stuff. And for me, in 2007 in Spain, that sounds very, 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 I don't know, very new and very brave, That's something that in Spain was not so common, and this impressed me a lot. And well, we have all these conversations with the guys in the club, and at the end of the day, well, they offer me the job, and I am very, very, very happy to be accepted, and I start working with them.
Yeah.
The thing is that I have to confess that I don't like sports. I am very bad at sports. I have to left foot, and my wife said to me, before you sign a contract, you have to say to them that you don't like sports. And I confess that, and they say to me, it doesn't matter, we want objective people to work with us. So yeah, it was a great place to work, and a very, very nice experience.
Yeah, well, and that was something that we discussed briefly before we got onto this call here too, was the idea that, it's extremely valuable to learn the business side on a number of levels, as opposed to just saying that you want to work in sports, right? Because really it's still business that you're conducting, whether it's sales or sponsorship or on the digital side. What's your thoughts on that? There's a lot of people that watch these videos and they're trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do to be able to get into a role like that? Do I just become a super fan and hopefully somebody notices, or do I try and focus in on something? What's your thoughts?
Well, I am not so positive and so friendly to, for example, a very specific studies in sport, for example. Because of my own experience, I am a more generalistic guy. I study advertising, I work in advertising for many years, and I study an MBA and all this kind of stuff, and I never think to be working in sports, but I know how to manage a business. I know I have this broad vision of the things. Because of the people that I already know, is people that people that finish in sports, or the people that I have met in sports, have not studied sports, have studied different things and different fields, their expertise. But the thing is that for some way or another, if they are interested in sports, they end gathering with the correct people, they end going to the right conferences or to the right places. So my personal opinion is maybe if you are studying sports, that's great, but maybe have a big, broader vision of the things, Sports is a business like that. Any business is not only based in numbers, it's based in numbers, in passion, but it's also about managing people. It's also about working with different kind of professionals, So I think that the more broader and the more open and more curious that you are about things, it's going to be better, and it's going to prepare you best. Mm-hmm. Then if you want to land in a job in sports, like if you want to land in a job in any other profession, I think that you have to start gathering with the correct people, reading the right books, assisting to the right webinars and stuff like that, But I think that's the better way to do this kind of stuff for any profession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we also discussed briefly before this call about the idea of doing free work, and not necessarily undervaluing yourself, but the whole concept of giving back and the opportunities that will open up as a result. And I know you do a lot of speaking. You mentioned even to this day where the value of meeting these influential people that might end up crossing your path in the business world has proved invaluable to yourself as well. Correct?
Yes, that's right. For example, the thing that I mentioned you, the story about myself. I write this blog at 4 years ago because not because someone is paying me, it's because I like and I want to express my ideas about the idea. It's also because make you think. If you have to write something, you have to research, investigate it, and do something logical, and that helps you to keep your mind work, but also to express your ideas. And that's work that you give for free. But a lot of people contact you because you say, hey, you have these important things to say. And I think that is also a way to meet other people and exchange ideas. And you don't know when someone is going to cross your way saying, hey, not only I want to cross ideas with you, but I also want to work with me, because I think that you have a very good approach on that. It's something that the people, for example, like me, that are in the middle of our career, for example, and we are not young people starting our jobs, are doing a lot of this kind of stuff because we have understand that give us contacts, give a way to exchange information, to learn new stuff, because every day there are younger people than us that are doing these kind of things and is giving you fresh ideas. It's something that we do for free because at the end of the day it's going to have a benefit, And I think that is something that young people that are starting his careers also have to have in mind. Free job is not free job if that means that you are learning experience. If you are learning experience, that's one of the best things that you can have. So
yeah. The idea of doing that free work, and there's numerous ways that people can get experience to try and get their foot in the door. Internships, education, networking. I think really what you're summarizing is kind of a collection of all of those, right? You're educating yourself, and then that website or LinkedIn presence that you put out there is really that first impression, right? It gives people that instant glimpse into who you are and what you know, and what you're interested in learning about. So I know we advocate that a lot here at Sports Networker too. So that's great advice on that end. Now you mentioned an interesting story before we started talking here too about a community manager role that you hired for Real Madrid. Maybe tell that story for everybody that's watching.
Well, this is a very interesting story, but it has to do with what we have been talking about. In some moment when I am the guy who introduced Real to the social media stuff, and I create accounts and I start managing that stuff. But at some moment I say to myself, I cannot be making contracts, discussing with people, managing businesses, and at the same time managing a community. It's something that is not possible. Maybe we need to find someone to do that. And the thing is, from the start moment when we start with all these social media things, with Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that, we start identifying people that are relevant, the people that comment more, the people that are more active. And there is this guy that is a guy that lives in an Arab country, that is a guy that has studied linguistics and speak 4 languages.
Wow.
And he's a digital native, and they're a very hard fan of Real Madrid, And this guy contacted us and said, no, I have doing this, you are doing this, I am doing this blog about Real, and I am very, very excited about that. I'm a huge fan and stuff like that. And he started providing us some comments and things that maybe we can do better in our social media feeds. And that's interesting advice. The thing is that one day I have a problem because we are not growing fast enough our Twitter account, and we hire agencies to try to discover how we can do that, and we spend a lot of money in those consultants and stuff like that. And one day this guy sent me an email and said, Oscar, I have noticed that you have put Real Madrid all together when you have create a Twitter account. It's better if you maybe put Real space Madrid. Yeah. And I say, man, that's nonsense, But we do the change, and we change from having 100 guys a day, 100 followers, to have 1,000.
Amazing, yeah.
That is an idea that came from a guy out of the blue, and not from an agency that is hiring, that is charging out a lot of money. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And the thing is that these guys continue doing things. In some moment, we say, after various months talking about this kind of stuff and giving us advice for free, we say, hey, I'm not maybe interested in managing our Arab account of Twitter. And he started doing that, and he do a terrific job. Some months after that, you say, why you don't start managing the English one? And then the Spanish one, you know. And in that moment, we say, okay, we are start going to pay you like an external consultant. In some point, this guy is so passionate, he said, no, you know, I want to go to Madrid because I want to work with you, and I want to work on an internship. And he came to us and started to work as an intern, you know. Yeah. And the things grew up, and this guy became indispensable. In some moment, we offered him the job to get inside the club.
Yeah.
It was a very funny story because in some moment, this guy is an Arab guy, and he needs to go back to his country to renew his paper, you know.
Yeah.
And the problem is of one of these revolutions, one of these Arab revolutions, caught him inside the country.
Wow.
So we need to go back and make a lot of stuff, take planes, move around in a bus to cross the border, to take another plane to come back.
Unbelievable.
You also discover that these guys are not only indispensable, but are passionate about the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's when you notice that maybe that's people that is indispensable for your work.
Mm-hmm.
It starts, as you has already mentioned, free job, giving good advice, giving valuable advice, and being passionate about the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Things are going to go slow, but if you persist, things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And that is a good piece of advice, I think.
Yeah, and actually, you bring up a point there too about the guy that you're just talking about. Sorry, I didn't catch his name, but you mentioned that he spoke 4 languages as well.
Yeah.
Which has no relation to sports really, but at the same time, it definitely allowed him to do that role that you ultimately ended up hiring him for.
Yes, you know these guys, because sometimes you just, this guy is a linguistics. He studied linguistics, for example, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is that this guy, you say a guy studying linguistics, he's going to end working as a social community manager in a football club.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. Maybe he's going to finish teaching, you know. But this guy also had this thing, and a combination of he's passionate about some stuff. He's also passionate about digital stuff. He's a guy who writes about sports, and he's passionate. If you put all these things together, and it's a combination, and it's a very unusual combination, you find a very interesting profile.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's not because you are going to study engineer, maybe you're going to finish in being an engineer in a company. Maybe you're going to be finishing managing people, or you're going to be finishing doing some stuff. You know, the thing is that you study something and you're going to finish your professional life working on that. It's not the things that used to happen around the world. And in sports, it's something that is don't happen,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
With that, I am not saying that maybe I am not going against schools that are teaching about sports management and stuff like that. That's pretty good. But I think that you have to do that and also have a bit more broader vision of the things. It's going to help you in your job at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, it's great advice. So talking specifically about these social accounts with Real Madrid, you obviously, you headed everything up as far as the Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, getting the team online. And I watched an interview before we hopped on this call from about just over a year ago, I guess. And you had done an interview talking about, I think the team was at about 2 million fans at the time on Facebook. And you talked about, you know, the idea of getting to 20 million. And I just checked online today, and I think it's around 25 million. So maybe discuss that as well, because I know that was a rapid growth that you saw, and it was, you know, something that was really tough to even predict.
No, I think that the main football clubs in Europe, for example, let's say Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, all these clubs that have taken serious all this social media stuff and are pulling content and are taking attention to these social media, are growing at the same rates, you know. Mm-hmm. These are very powerful brands, you know, and Facebook and Twitter are very great ways to distribute this brand, okay? And now people, when you ask, hey, where is the people right now online? People is not maybe in official websites and stuff like that. People is in Facebook. So if you have a presence of the club there, it's very possible that you are going to have a lot of fans, you know? Yeah. So in some moment, at the beginning, it was difficult to have these fans. But in the moment that you reach a tipping point, fans come and start growing very fast.
Yeah.
The things that right now, I think that the clubs must focus, and I think that in the case of Real, I leave the job, but I know that the people that I left there and the guys that are managing the field right now are focusing more, and I have also bragged about that, is that we need to focus more on engagement, you mm-hmm. know. These clubs have 20 million, 22 million, 24 million, when you see the engagement rate, that now is something very public in Facebook. Yeah. How many people is engaged in the last 7 days? you have noticing that the rates of these clubs is 6%, 5%. That's very low, you know. So the clubs and any brand need to start forgetting about this thing about, oh, we are this alpha male attitude that say, I am bigger than everyone and I have all the biggest fan base and stuff like that. The clubs and all these brands need to brag about, I have more people engaged. You know, more people engaged than big amounts of fans. Big amount of fans is nice. You have to have a core and something massive, but you also have to leave people engaged.
Yeah.
The problem right now is that you have a lot of people, but how many of them are going to react to your post, to your message, to your offer? If you don't have a conversation, and that is something complicated to have these people engaged, and a big amount of these people engaged, something that's going to be not relevant. You know, that the number, a fan base of Facebook fans or Twitter fans in some moment is going to be irrelevant if you don't engage that people and can make these people do stuff that you are interested them to do it. You have to provide relevant stuff, you know. And that's the thing that is the next focus that brands and football clubs and all these people that is using social media need to focus on.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying really translates to all kinds of brands, right? Not just sports teams, but other big brands around the world too. There's always been a mindset that's, you know, wow, we got all these social media tools. We got another broadcast tool, right? It's our own personal free press release. And
yes.
You see some of the best brands in the world. You know, Ford comes to mind over in North America. There's probably a few in Europe that would come to mind for you as well. But ones that are truly, you know, trying to engage and really provide unique experiences for their clientele online. Yeah,
you have touched a point. The problem is that people and brands are using this social media like the old TV concept, you know. Oh, that's thing we have all these millions of people, we're going to push their messages. Push messages. And people, you see, people is not answering, you know. You have a lot of people are sending messages and you have 2, 3 comments. The other day it was very funny because this very big brand, a sports brand here in Spain, they put a post that say, oh, we are very happy because today is a very special day because it's the day that we are reaching, I think it was 3 million fans in Facebook. We are very proud and happy about that. They have three comments. Three comments. And two of them are, you know, today is my birthday, and that is more relevant to me than your 3 million. You know, you guys are very boring.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. That's something that for me is very sad. You know, for me it's very sad to see that. You know, and I think for the manager of this brand is also sad. You know, it is not a thing of having awareness and push messages. That's the old model that we all have already know, and people is not paying attention to that.
Yeah. Yeah, the same rules apply for the individuals as they do for the big brands, right? So if you're constantly talking about yourself, nobody wants to listen to you anymore, right?
Yes. You have to provide something relevant. If you provide remarkable things, relevant things, and you have something interesting to say, people is going to listen. Nowadays, it has to be something very relevant to be said because there is a lot of noise around. You know, the people is not paying attention. So if you are not relevant, that's the problem. Yeah. What is relevant? Yeah. No one have the recipe. Yeah. You know, you have to work on that.
No doubt. So what does a typical day look like for you today? Obviously, you're no longer with Real Madrid, but you're working with big brands around the world, and from what it sounds like, you're literally flying around the world to do that work as well. So maybe give everybody some insight into what your day-to-day looks like now in the company that you work with.
Well, no, the thing is that I am making we have the agency here in Spain, but our headquarters are in Latin America, in Peru, in Lima. There is a Fantasia, we are part of Wunderman, and in Lima there are 100 guys down there, and we manage, in Latin America, in Peru, we manage guys like Coca-Cola, Telefonica, banks. We are one of the main agencies there, and we have this office here in Spain. So here in Spain we have some clients. So we manage these clients, we made a consultancy, and some of the production we make it back in Latin America, you know. But the thing that right now I am doing also is that in Latin America we have some important clients in the telecommunications area, for example, that are trying to activate the sponsorships in football.
Oh, no
and because
kidding.
of my past experience, it's supposed that I am the guy who know a little bit about it. So yeah. I am working with them and helping them. So I used to travel back there, not two times each per month, and I go travel there, meet with people. But most the rest of the time, I am sitting down here talking with people through these Skype things or by phone and talking about them, and I'm preparing documentation and stuff like that, and meeting and discussing strategies and stuff like that. So right now it's more an strategically job. Well, it requires a lot of travel, and it requires also a lot of talk in these different time zones, you know, because we are these guys are 6 hours before us, so the days are a little long. We start for today every day very early for the people who are here in Spain and the clients that are in Spain, and we finish very late in the night because the guys waking up.
Well, and that's our case here too. You say good morning to me, I say good evening, right?
Yes.
I think
good evening.
I think we're good.
No, yeah. Right now it's a pretty exciting time. Well, also it's a complicated time. You know, people is demanding more results and they're demanding more things to be more concrete when they obtain the result. Nowadays, the economy down run and all this kind of stuff is complicated. So people is looking for good advice, but they are also looking for results and things that are relevant. You know. Mm-hmm. And that's an interesting time. Our time is a very interesting time for every one of us. The world is changing. There are a lot of complicated things. Digital media and all this kind of stuff are reshaping the ways that we used to do stuff and consume stuff.
Yeah.
So anything in sports and in anything. So it's a pretty and interesting moment to be.
So, yeah, no kidding. So these sponsorship activations that you mentioned are these Latin American telecom companies that are sponsoring European soccer clubs?
Yes. No. It's companies that are sponsoring local leagues, for example, local leagues in Latin America. You know, nowadays Latin America is doing very well. You know, the economy is great in Latin America. Several countries are growing at a rate of 7% a year. When you have in Europe, for example, you have countries that are growing 0% and are not growing. Mm-hmm. They are getting shorter. Yeah. You know, in Latin America, there is right now a very great time for that. The economy is great. The numbers are pretty good. You have a very young population. It's different from Europe. You know, in Europe the population is aging, and in Latin America you have a lot of young people, and there is money right now there. So there are huge opportunities. You know, the pyramid of the population is great. When you see that there is a lot of young people in a country, there is an opportunity to do business and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. When the societies are aging and the economy is bad, it's a little more complicated. So it's also, and I am very happy because I am Latin America, I am Peruvian. Yeah. I am very happy about that. I think that the next years is going to be a great time for Latin America. And the great thing is Latin America people is crazy about sports and is crazy about football. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting time maybe for this kind of gatherings around sports and stuff down there.
No doubt, and with some major world events coming up over the next 4 years, in Brazil in particular, you're going to see a lot of awareness and growth and sponsorship opportunities in Latin America in general. And you actually bring up a good point. The fact that South America is a younger demographic, generally speaking, compared to Europe, I think that really speaks to the value of these new tools too, because it's a digital world, right? And everybody's connected via cell phones and not necessarily looking at billboards and converting anymore. They're going to their mobile phone.
Digital is still there is a slower penetration on digital, but people is interested about that. That's also a very interesting thing. And we are going to see a lot of that. It's a very interesting time, for example, for the things that are going to happen in Brazil with the Olympics, with the football championship. It's going to be a great time, and it's going to be maybe a good place to test the stuff and things around there in Latin America. I think that is a pretty exciting moment, and I think that is also good because a lot of brands or companies are also turning their heads down to Latin America to sponsor teams. There are banks in Spain, for example, that are saying, right now, well, we have these very good sponsorships here in Europe, in Spain, but we are maybe going to see, because we want to enter in this market, for example, in Argentina or in Chile or in Colombia. Yeah. We want to enter there. Oh, wait, a way to do that is through sponsorship, and a way to do that is what we are going to sponsor. What is the most people that is exciting about sports? Yeah. So it's a great and very, very, very interesting time.
No kidding.
And there is a lot of things to do down there.
Yeah, yeah. It is exciting. I know even over on this side of the world in North America, we obviously had the Olympics, the Winter Olympics here in Vancouver a couple of years ago. And I was able to experience that and just, you know, take in the buzz that was the Olympic experience. And from a sponsorship perspective, I know there was a lot of brands that got a tremendous amount of value from just being associated with the hype and the excitement of sports in general. So I've seen it firsthand, and now I'd like to attend every single Olympics going forward the rest of my life if I can.
Brazil is a nice place to be for that kind of stuff.
No kidding.
There is also a very, very nice country, so
yes.
It's going to be interesting to be there.
Little bit less rain than in Vancouver, I'm hoping, when I get down there. So if we were going to summarize up this interview here, I wanted to ask one more question. If there was one piece of advice, and I know you've given lots of great advice already, but if there's people watching this video that are, you know, trying to break into the sports industry, I know because we had, you know, 600 plus people on a webinar yesterday, and these were all people that were interested in trying to figure out how to get into the industry. What would that one piece of advice be from your perspective? I
think that you have to get inside the stuff, read a lot, and gathering with the right people. You have to go to the places where the people that are talking about this are, you know, and you need to meet with them. You know, I think that if you have the opportunity to I don't know, take your car and drive to a conference, you have to go there, sit down with the guys. A problem that a lot of people have is people think that maybe all the thing of digital media and have a presence on the internet is important. It's important, yes. You have to have that kind of things. Mm-hmm. But you have to balance this thing. You have to have your digital presence, something that is relevant there. But also, a lot of these things are still relationships. Yeah. Relationships of face-to-face relationships. So you have to go and be there, you know. So I think that if you have to give me an advice, is be relevant, but also don't forget that being relevant is not only based on sitting down behind a computer. You have to do that, but you also have to go and meet the people and give handshakes and stuff like that. That's pretty important. The human relation is something that I think is never going to be lost in all this kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, and it does definitely seem that it's more undervalued nowadays because it is easy to keep in touch with people and socialize on these social networks, and I know we advocate for that as well. There's nothing more powerful than, you know, building an initial relationship with somebody on Twitter, for example, running into them at a networking event or a conference or something like that, and you have an instant, you know, barrier that's been broken down where you already kind of know the person, you know, without really having met them before. No, yeah, maybe I have been a little exaggerating, you know, but maybe a handshake is also this kind of stuff that you and I are making, you know. We are looking to each other and we are making, having a very nice conversation, and I think that is interesting, but it have to have this human approach, you know. Mm-hmm. The exchanging of just tweets and stuff like that, and in some way you have to just virtualize the people and you have to meet to them face to face. If it's in person, it's great. If it's not possible, technology allows to do the thing that right now you and I are doing, but it have to progress to this kind of personal relationship. Maybe I'm not explaining myself very good, but you have to try to make these bonds and strong, and you do that when you meet the people face to face, I think. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about, so I think you explained it great. And I look forward to meeting you in person at some point in the future here too. To wrap things up here, how can people get in touch with you if they wanted to find out more about you and what you do and connect with you online? No, yeah, it's very easy. If you type Oscar Ugaz on Google, you're going to find me. I think it's going to pop up my LinkedIn, and it's going to pop up the Twitter and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. The only Oscar Ugaz that is bald is me, so it's going to be easy to find me. No doubt. Well, we'll have your picture on the article, and we'll make sure that we link everything up there so that people can no doubt find you and connect with you. And once again, I just want to say it was a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to keeping in touch over the years to come. Same to you, Trevor. Same to me. Thank you very much.